And for those of you who heard us on the front end here, I was asking about how my virtual background looked and got some amazing feedback that I am not cluttered and organized, so it allows for the flow. And I love that because I love doing this show. And I want to welcome you to the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show. Hi, I'm V. Lynn Hawkins. I'm your host, and we are in another episode of the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show. My guest today is Linda Lenore, and I will be talking about Feng Shui, a tool for life. And let me just tell you a little bit about Linda, because she and I have known each other. I know it's got to be 10 years, around about 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And I have just been so enthralled with the idea of Feng Shui. I'd heard about it before, but knew no one who could talk to me about it and really even validate that Feng Shui was something that was not just real, but something that was what we wanted to incorporate into our lives. So Linda is a Feng Shui master, designer, speaker, author, and owner of a beautiful Center of Light. She's a leading international authority on Feng Shui, the ancient art of how the environment shapes our lives. And she's one of the few non-Asian certified Feng Shui masters in the US, renowned for her expertise in creating corporate and home environments that both stimulate success and soothe the soul. I love that. She joins us today to share her secrets about how your home and your workplace can be your refuge, your empowerment space for self-care. And when you create better environments, you create ones that support health, wealth, peace, and happiness in your life and your business. So welcome, Linda. I am so excited that you're here with us today.
Thank you, Lynn. It's great to be here with you. It's been a while since we've had a chance to talk. Thank you.
It has, and we never search for words when we're in conversation. We look at the time and say, oh my gosh, what happened? So I do want to be conscious of the time today, but tell us a little bit, first of all, about your journey. You know, how did this amazing thing called Feng Shui come into your life, and how did it impact you so that you're now helping so many people understand it and use it to create more beautiful lives and businesses?
Lynn, it's been quite a journey. I will say that. And obviously it was not something that I had ever planned, because I started out 35 years ago and no one that I knew anything about Feng Shui. I'd never heard the words. The words qi and tai chi were not even in the vocabulary of any of my friends. So, it was one of those situations. It was divine intervention that I am here. The very short version is that I have a design background, not because I was planning on doing interior design, but because I wanted to fix my own house. In the process, I met some ladies at a college, design college. We started our own business. We didn't know how to run a business. The college didn't teach us that. I went to a trade show to learn about it. And on the 6th day of this trade show, walking around, now this was the mid 80s. And no, mind you, interior design, so you've got to be designer oriented. I was dressed in my outfit right down to my 4-inch pointed toe shoes, walking on a cement floor. You can imagine how my feet felt 6 days of this. So again, the short version is I sat down in the auditorium on the last day, didn't pay any attention to what was going on, was waiting for the presentation. Just about the time it was to start, I turned around, discovered I literally was one of a handful of people not of Asian descent. Felt very uncomfortable, was getting ready to leave when the side door opened up and a gentleman walked in a black robe with 6 other people behind him in a processional. Now, I knew enough not to be disrespectful, and it was quite a journey. First of all, he only spoke Mandarin. And there was a translator, but the translator didn't get started for about 15 minutes. None of the things made any sense, although there was a comment about children's area and partnership areas. And I figured, child's bedroom, and maybe that's what they call the master bedroom in China. The technology was overhead projectors. The master had several transparencies already pre-drawn. He drew something from scratch. He'd say good feng shui or bad feng shui, and there'd be the ooh, ah, taking notes. He finally had a transparency that he drew from scratch, put up there. The translator was befuddled about what was going on and said something about really bad feng shui. The translator said, if this is a child's house, or this is a house and this is a child's bedroom, and where the bed is located, it can be so harmful to the child's health, the child could actually die. And what he had described, what he had drawn, was my house, and it was my son's room, and my son Jeff had died just a few months before, at the age of 13, of a malignant brain tumor. Well, with that, I didn't care I was being disrespectful. I grabbed my stuff, I ran out of there, found a place, probably had the first cry that since he had died, and discovered that there was another 3-hour workshop in the afternoon in that same auditorium. So I had to go back, only instead of sitting in the front row where I had been before, I was in the very back, right by the door, so I could make a quick exit. There were things that I understood in that program that made sense, but 99.9% of it made absolutely no sense whatsoever. There was the foreign language, there were words being used that I didn't understand. I was not in a space to really absorb anything. And it was about 6 months after that that I finally found a class that I could take at the University of San Francisco, one night a week. And I started going to that. I lived about an hour and a half away from there at the time. And it took about 4 or 5 years of looking and taking classes before, on some level, I started to integrate some of the things with feng shui. I still did not understand it. I did not believe it. I was raised Judeo-Christian. The classes were based on Buddhism. None of, hanging crystals in the middle of a room, that didn't work from a design perspective. So there were just lots of things that did not work for me, but with that introduction, I had to find out more. And the rest is history. I've studied with 22 masters around the world. I became a master about 20 years ago. And I love doing this. I love to help people to learn about their homes and the impact that it can have, our environment, not just the home, because if you're working away from the home, there's several things that you can do, even if you are working for someone else in their environment. So it's just becoming more aware of our space. So that's the short version.
Wow. Well, I got goosebumps. And, you're telling your story, because while there were parts that I knew, there were parts that I didn't know. And oh my goodness, isn't it our experiences that bring us to, in most cases, doing the thing that we do for business, and we're gifted in it, we're blessed with it when we know that it is part of our calling. This is totally part of your calling. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the history of Feng Shui and the art and science of it all.
Originally, the stories vary. Feng Shui, the words themselves refer to wind and water. Feng is wind, Shui is water. And those are the two elements that have carved out the landscaping. They're the two elements that we have to live. So we're talking about the life force energy. And we're talking about how it moves or if it's stagnant. It is 4,000 or more years old. It's been practiced throughout all of Asia, although originally they talk about it being from China. It was only for the emperors or the high government officials, so that all the good would come to them. They would design the palace, the royal governmental offices, so that all the good would come there, and that they would be protected. One of the schools, there's a dozen different schools. One of the schools is called landform or landscape feng shui. And with that, they talk about the 4 animals, and the 4 animals represent 4 types of energy that you want. The back energy is called the turtle backing, and it is having a solid backing behind you, having a solid wall when you sit at a desk. It's having a mountain or having something solid behind your home, so that originally the barbarians had to climb a mountain in order to get to this palace or government building. The next animal would be the red phoenix, and that's out in front. That's where all the good energy comes. And we talk about the red phoenix because red is an activating color, and it brings lots of awareness, activity to it. And originally, the placement of buildings would be so that you would get a cool breeze during the summertime and would get warm breezes in the wintertime, so that it would actually have to do with that wind aspect of it. And then 2 of the other animals, one is the green dragon, and that has to do with health, vitality, prosperity, year round. So having plants that are green year round on one side of your building, like citrus plants or rhododendrons or evergreens. And then the other side is what we call the white tiger, and that's a nurturing quality. But it's not just nurturing. Think about the mother tiger taking care of her young. Don't mess with mother tiger. She is just as ferocious, if not more so, than the dragon. But it is also about the nurturing quality. So we want to have peaceful locations, a place that you could sit and nurture yourself, meandering pathways, gentle breezes, beautiful flowers, fragrances. So we're looking at those 4 different elements based on 4 different animals. Now that's one of the schools. And then there's other schools that are based on religion. Some of them are based on Buddhism, some on Taoism or Catholicism. There's a very high Filipino community south of San Francisco that I did a lot of work with. And we would, instead of having Buddhas up, we would have pictures of Jesus or Blessed Mother Mary in the homes, and we would still follow all the practices. So it has to do with some religions, but then there's others that have absolutely no religious perspective whatsoever. They have to do with how you feel in the space. Using common sense is one of the prime things for you to do with feng shui. I don't care what you hear from whom you hear it. Use your common sense, use your intuition. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right for you. It may not be right for you right now, but maybe later on. But it may be something that just isn't right because there's some extenuating circumstances in your own specific area. And then there's other schools that are based on the astrological implications. Some of them are based on the Chinese New Year, the different animals of the Chinese New Year. Some of them are based on when you were born. So there's a lot of different schools of feng shui, and you can blend them all together, although there are some conflicts within them, or you can just pick one school and use that. So that gives you a little bit of background of feng shui.
Wow, interesting. Very interesting. There's significance to feng shui in the home, and you can kind of see the parallel as you stated about it being in business, like the Chinese and the governmental offices and everything. And especially when you mentioned the turtle back, having your back against the wall and that type of thing. What's something else of significance around using feng shui to create the energy of flow in your home? Let's start with your home.
The most important aspect, there's 3 areas that are really important in my opinion. I'll say them, then I'll explain why each one of them. The front door, the area inside the house where you gather, and your bedroom. Now, let me kind of just go back a little bit and say your bedroom, because that's where you sleep, that's where you spend roughly 8 hours of your life. And you want to make sure that that is comfortable and that you feel safe and protected in that. We'll go into that a little bit later on, I'm sure. The front door is the main mouth of qi. I'm sure that you've gone to Chinese restaurants and seen what they call the mouth of qi, the round door. Sometimes it's just a regular door, but they framed it so that it's round. And that's the breath of life. That's energy coming into the space. And just picture two different aspects of homes. Maybe your home and maybe somebody else's home, a place that you know of. If you have a home that has lots of weeds, broken down cars in front, is in disrepair, you don't really want to go there, and the good energy doesn't want to go there. That's why in the real estate industry, they call it curb appeal. We want to have as much good energy coming to the front door as possible. We want to actually attract good energy from the street all the way up to the front door, and then through the front door into the entrance of the house. So having things that touch all of the senses, something that is beautiful for you to see, things for you to smell. There's cocoa mulch that if you like chocolate, you need to have some of that out because it smells like chocolate and doesn't have the calories. Or jasmine or roses, any of those are beautiful fragrances. We want to see things that are beautiful. Flowers, uniquely designed or trimmed plants, having a bridge or a pond so that you have something that is visual, something that's moving like a wind chime or a whirligig of some sort. All of those catch the visual attention. Something that you hear. It might be the sound of a waterfall. It might be a wind chime. It might be the leaves of a tree that just because of the way that the leaves are made and because of the breeze, you hear the rustling of the leaves. So things that touch the senses. Having plants that are very tactile, that you want to go and touch, not the cactus that is going to hurt, but something that is soft or inviting. So we're looking at how we can address the senses and attract energy from that perspective. Making sure that it's clean, not cluttered, making sure that you're not going to trip over something. All of those are aspects of good feng shui and what we want to do for the entrance. And then making sure that the front door opens, that it opens as wide as possible, doesn't squeak. There's a lot of symbology between a building and our physical body. And so the front door is considered literally the mouth. And if the door squeaks, it has to do with your voice. So if you have a squeaky door, you may not be taken seriously. Because you have a squeaky voice, the door's squeaky. So we look at the implications of the building in perspective to our physical body. Hallways have to do with our throat. The stairs have to do with the spine. So we want to make sure that when we're working with the front door, that we have the ability to walk through the front door, that it's open, that it's easy, and that there's something when you first walk into the building, into the house, that maybe it's similar to what you have outside. So you're attracting the like energy that's outside to the inside. So maybe there's a water feature inside, or maybe there's a photograph of a lake and you've got a pond outside, so that you've got that like energy in both directions, both inside and out, that you can bring to the space. So we're looking to make sure that the front door is open, airy, not cluttered, doesn't have broken items, and the same goes for inside of the entranceway as well. Then we look at the kitchen. The kitchen used to be the heart of the home, the hearth. That's where we had the fire to keep us warm, to cook the meals, where everyone would gather. Today, things are changing. We still have the desire to have that kitchen, that hearth, that gathering spot. There have been some things because of a pandemic that have changed our lives some. And maybe having the open floor plan is not something that works for you because of too much noise with children doing homework and you trying to work at your the kitchen bar or something like this. So there may be some changes that go on down the line, yet the kitchen is always going to be the heart of the home, because we do like to cook for our loved ones. We like to create beautiful things, beautiful meals. We put our love into the food that we're making for our loved ones, and then having wonderful conversations with them, whether it's at the dining room table or around the kitchen bar or standing at the around in the kitchen area. So the kitchen is considered the heart of the home. So we want to make sure that that's a viable place that is conducive to all of those energies. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, the bedroom. We want to have the bed as far from the door as possible, yet able to see the door, and also to have the bed on a solid wall if at all possible. Now, sometimes that's just impossible to have all of those things happen. So we have to make compromises. If we have a bed under a window, sometimes it's drafty. Sometimes we don't feel as protected, especially if it's a bedroom on the ground floor. You may feel like someone could come it through the window or something like that. So we need to look at the bedroom. How can we make it feel comfortable? Maybe we need to have special window coverings or a screen by a window. Maybe we need to move the bed closer to the door, which may not be good feng shui. And yet we can create other things within that room to make it so it's more comfortable. But we want to have it be clean, nurturing, comfortable, reflective of who we are, without a lot of clutter, without a lot of other items in the space, so that it feels nurturing. So those are three different areas that all are equally important for various reasons, that can also be translated to an office. The entrance to the building or the entrance to your office is important. The center part of the office where your desk will probably be located. We want to make sure that it's organized, not messy. Feeling that you are safe in the space, so that there's maybe a wall behind you. Those are all important aspects of it. Because it may or may not have windows, it may be something for you to bring in some plants. A lot of plants do very well with the fluorescent lighting that's in office buildings. So that may be a way of bringing in some of the energy that you don't normally have in an office building. So those are some ideas, Lynn.
That's awesome. Wow. And so it takes me to, this is just great information that people can utilize and look around their spaces and make some initial adjustments around. But tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that people actually have that actually bring you in to say, I think I'm doing what you're saying, but it still doesn't quite feel right. What's the number one challenge that you see that people come to you to solve for them?
There's actually three, and it's the universal three. It's health, wealth, and relationships. So let me go into each one of them a little bit more. Very often, the situation with wealth is that it's right back to that, two of those three areas. It's the front door and the bedroom. We want to make sure that we are able to attract good energy to the space, and that you feel rich or prosperous or have an abundance in your life in your bedroom. And this actually applies to your health and to relationships, but with slight differences. So let me just say that oftentimes what happens when I'm called, especially, and I do a lot of things virtually now because I don't live in California, where I did this for many, for 3.5 decades. I now live in Washington State. And thanks to Zoom and FaceTime and things like this, I can still do the work. The front door is very often, it's got either broken items by it, it doesn't have anything beautiful by it, it's hard to get to it. There's things that just are downright ugly between where you park the car and getting to the front door. And so whenever I have a client, I'll say, just make it beautiful. Make that walkway beautiful. First of all, get rid of the things that are broken, things that are not being used, and like a broken tricycle or something that needs to be repaired, move it someplace else so that it's not by the front door, so that you really are welcoming good energy to your space. And that applies again for finding a relationship or for your own health, because if you see something broken every time that you're walking up to the door, and I'm going to take a sidestep here. If you walk through a different door, if say a back door, or you walk through a door from a garage into your house, you're going to need to address both doors, because we're talking about the main door from the street for most people, and you are walking through a different door. So we need to address that as well. But very often there's things that whenever you see it, it's like, oh, I need to fix that. Oh, I need to get rid of that. One of these days I'll move this. So you have that energy and it just pulls you down. So the doorway is important. And then in the bedroom, get rid of the clutter. Don't get rid of all the books by the side of the bed and the magazines that you're going to read one of these days. Put them someplace else and bring one of them in to read that night. Don't have pictures in the bedroom that have anything to do in a negative form. If you have a picture of someone and you don't like them, get it out of your bedroom. If you have trees, pictures of trees with no leaves, move them someplace else. My preference would be to probably remove them completely from your life, because we think of trees as having an abundance of leaves. And so we want to have leaves there. And because plants have this significance of growth and vitality, having pictures of healthy plants around you and having healthy plants around you are two ways of increasing your health and your vitality without overdoing it in the bedroom. One or two plants, small plants, one picture of a tree. Okay, that's it. Have the rest of the pictures of the trees, the rest of the plants in other locations. So then we have a way of making that space feel nurturing. Maybe you love stuffed animals. Maybe you have an animal, a totem that is your protector. Maybe you have a spiritual icon. Have that in your bedroom so that it makes you feel safe and protected in the space. And then what does bring abundance and health to you? What are the symbols of that? Again, it may be a plant. It may be a container with coins in it that actually have the money in it. If you like to travel, have currency from various countries in the room. Again, without overdoing it and not having it plastered all over all the walls. One or two items is all you want. You really want to have next to nothing in the bedroom, because you want to have that peacefulness in the space. Now, because of some of my clients, they are definitely not into religious perspectives. I will sometimes say, okay, what about an angel? Is that something that you could have in there that will look, that will look over you at times? Way back, for children, it was SquarePants SpongeBob. I think that's what it was. I get those.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Thank you. Okay. So I've had that sitting on a shelf. It may be a little dragon, or it may be a toy cat or dog, or a picture of one that you put by the door in a child's room, just to make them feel safe and protected. If spiritual icons are not something that works for you because of your spiritual religious background. So the three things are usually the health, the wealth, and relationships. So let me talk just a little bit about relationships. Having things in pairs, having two of something is really great. So by that front door, have two of something. It could be two ducks, two dogs, could be two foo dogs, from an Asian perspective. Coming on into the house, from the Asian perspective, they might have something like Mandarin ducks because they mate for life. I'm blessed to live in an area that has bald eagles. Bald eagles mate for life. I have pictures of two bald eagles together. So find something that represents two and have that in your bedroom. If you are a single woman or a single man and you have pictures of single men, women in the room, reduce it to only one, and then start looking for photographs, pictures, images of couples, because you're reinforcing whatever you see is being reinforced in your mind. Your home is basically a three-dimensional vision board. So whatever you see is getting programmed into your mind day after day after day. And depending upon how many times you walk into the room, it's being triggered multiple times a day. So have images of the type of activities that you might like to be doing with a significant other. One of my clients, well, probably 30 years ago, said, I want a man in my life, but not in my bed. And I said, oh, okay. She says, I want a dance partner. I want to do ballroom dancing. And so we did a couple of things, and shortly thereafter, probably within a couple of months, she actually found a beautiful picture of kind of an Art Deco couple. The man was in his long-tailed tux, and the woman was in her sleek gown, and they were dancing. And sure enough, within a couple months, she found her dance partner. And I know that she had that dance partner for at least 20 years. So if there's an activity that you want to do with another person, you want to go golfing, biking, fishing, camping, go to the opera, find pictures or images of what it is that you want, and have at least one of them in your bedroom. And then back to health in the bedroom. I've mentioned a little bit about plants. Make sure that there's nothing broken in your bedroom, because that is breaking your health. If there's something that needs to be repaired, move it out of the bedroom until you get it repaired. I think that probably covers a good portion of those things.
Wow. Who would have known that, you hear a lot about decluttering, and you know that there is some value to that, but reasons for decluttering are one thing, but having your space designed to bring in health, wealth, and abundance is just, I love it. And that really is what makes Feng Shui a tool for life. Really great.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to harness all of the good energy of their home or their office, all that there is to offer, what are the top 3 things, or the top thing, because you gave us so much? What is the top thing that you would say that someone needed to avoid or fix?
Because every room, every person is different, the first thing I would suggest doing is go and sit in the room or stand in the room, each room as you have a chance. Probably not do all of them at once because you'll get overwhelmed, but just go into one room and stay there for about 15 minutes and see what jumps out to you that you don't like, doesn't work for you, isn't comfortable to sit in, can't walk around it easily, just bugs you on some level and you can't even put a name to it. Very often we acquire things. They may be things from our past in that we purchased them and needed them at one point, or we may have been gifted them by someone or a family member, and we sometimes feel guilty that we need to keep them. If there's any guilt, if there's any discomfort with them, they need to go. Find a home for them. Get them out of your space and find a home for them. And really trust your intuition. I've mentioned this a couple of times recently in some of the conversations I've been, in some of the groups I've been in, is that our intuition has been gifted to us, and we know what we need and what we don't need and where things need to be. Invariably, sometimes I'm blessed to be able to have someone come in and help clean my house, and other times I'm not able to. When I do have someone come in and clean, they just move things around. And afterwards, I'm always having to move the things back where they belong. There's an energy, there's a vibration, there's something resonates with this item being in this location, turned this way. When they come in to clean, they're not paying attention to energy, they are just moving the object to clean it. So first start off by rearranging those things in your space that you know aren't positioned correctly. And if you have trouble walking through the space, can you remove some of the items? Can you either, if it's clutter, can you restack it? If it's clutter, there's various levels of clutter. If you've got clutter on the floor, it's a very low vibration. Just by raising it to an end table or higher onto a higher table will literally raise the vibration of it. And sometimes just by raising it, you now have the energy and the vibration to be able to deal with the clutter. So if there's anything on the floor, pick it up so that you don't trip over it. That also allows the air to circulate more and to raise the vibration of a space. There's sometimes you needed an item, but it's no longer serving you. You know, you've either personally outgrown it, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or it's something that no longer serves you because you intellectually have grown beyond it. So these are things that I would like to have people do, is to start spending time, not when you're rushed, not, you know, you're, okay, I've got 10 minutes, I'm going to go sit in that room and see what's not working. No, have this be so that if you allow yourself like 15 minutes, more if you can, because then when you're sitting in that space, you're probably going to find that you're going to want to move some things, and then you'll want to move something else. And then you'll see that there's something to get rid of, and you'll need to take it off someplace else. And very often it's the domino effect. You wind up going to another room and going to another location. So I'm not answering your question as specifically as I would like, because I've already kind of given you the 3 most important areas. And the one thing that I know is that your intuition, your gut feel is going to guide you as to what is not working for you and what you can do to change it. And I think that one of the biggest things that happens in our world is that we find out about a new philosophy, school, art, science, whatever it happens to be, and we want to follow it to the letter. And these are just guidelines. It's not written in stone. Our lives are constantly changing. That's the wind and the water. It's constantly moving. And that's what we want in our homes and in our lives, is that constant movement. And so even though you go into a room today, next week you could go into that same room, and because you've changed and some things in the room have changed, there may be something else that you didn't see that needs to be moved.
Oh
I
my
think we'll leave it
gosh.
at that.
Oh my gosh. I don't know about anyone else, but I am taking copious notes here because this is just some great information. And you're right. One of the biggest things I think that struck me about what you said, all of it is really insightful. But the thing about just spending some time to take a look around. And then this last point was really important for everyone to hear about. You may leave, even operate in the space for a little while, yet still feel something's not quite right. Take the time to take a look around again, because there may just be something that's not quite right. And that small adjustment could mean everything, right?
Yes. I want a disclaimer. I do not have the perfect feng shui house, and I have clutter. Okay. I'm human. Life changes. There's things that I want to do. So it's not that we have to be locked into it. It's just as we become aware of things, there's a reason we're becoming aware of it. We're now shifting our energy, and it's now time for us to do something. Over the weekend, I was doing something and I'm going, why haven't I taken care of this in the last 3 years that I've lived in this house? You know, it was obvious, but I wasn't ready to see it. I wasn't, I was too busy doing life, too busy unpacking or whatever else happens in life. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, this is a big one. And sure enough, I could feel the energy shift. I can't even tell you what it was at this point, but it was just, wow, why haven't I done that? It makes perfect sense, and do it. So don't be surprised if you come across things like that, and don't beat yourself up. We're living life. We're constantly changing and learning and growing in all different aspects. And this is just a tool for you to be able to use. I will say that I've had health issues myself. I've had loved ones with health issues, and I will always go to my home and say, okay, what part of my body or what part of their body relates to the house? And let me go to that area or to whatever correlation happens to be, and see if I can find something that's out of place or broken or needs cleaning or something like that. Because it is something that you can use to be proactive. You may not be able to have the medical ability to change it, but you can intentionally change things because you know that there's this correlation between the house and your body. And this goes for your finances. This goes for your relationship. Oh, another thing for relationships. If you want a significant other, you don't have one, is there room for that significant other in your life? Clean out a drawer, clean out a third of the closet so that they can put some things in there. Clean out some of your time so that you have open time to spend with them. Otherwise, there's not enough energy for them to come in and feel welcomed. So just some other little things that keep coming
Well
up.
said. I love that. I love that. And I'm going to ask you a couple more questions before we wrap up. One being, many of our conversations here on the Health, Wisdom, and Wealth Show dive into the subject of using food as medicine and showing the correlation of what it is that we eat, fueling our body, as well as, what we're seeing around ourselves, our lifestyle. While I know that meeting people where they are is quite important, is there anything that you do daily that helps you to maintain your vibrant, good health? Is it something that you eat? Is it something that you do? Tell us a little bit about that.
Through the course of years and through the 20 different masters in my own spiritual journey, I have a morning ritual that takes about an hour between some meditation and visualization, journaling, and things like this that I do. I've had serious health issues, and because of that, became aware of the energy of food. We are very, very blessed to have some property, and literally this morning I was out picking some of my organic strawberries and eating some of my organic raspberries. And yesterday I got some of my organic blackberries that I was eating. My zucchini is growing. So I eat healthy foods. And I always know that whatever my mentality is when I'm fixing a meal, whether it is for myself or someone else, that energy is being put into the food. So I don't always, and I try to have a conscious awareness of love and appreciation in the preparation of my food and in the eating of it, as well as when I'm out and about. I love to garden, and I play in my yard. I don't work. Yeah, sometimes it's physical work, but most of the time it's just play. And finding something that brings you joy daily is of utmost importance, I think, because a way of getting rid of the everyday stress for me before I had a place to be able to garden and play in that, it would be journaling, so that I could release the mundane, the monkey chatter that's going on in the mind. And I'm also very blessed about having bald eagles around here. So I've learned that I need to allow probably about an hour, hour and a half just to go and watch the bald eagles do their thing, being out with nature. So more and more of my life is spent communing with nature in various ways. Not that I am an environmentalist or I'm not an extremist on any level. I'm just more of an observer. And the more I observe nature, the more I realize what I can do for myself to take care of me. Watching the bald eagles right now with their eaglets and their fledglings, they're watching out for the fledglings. They're making sure that other eagles don't come into their area. Typical feng shui, who's got your back?
Mhm.
And getting fresh food, they dive into the water, they get the fresh fish. So watching nature and observing it and mimicking it in any way is something that I do on a daily basis. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Oh, that was amazing. I love that. Yes. Um, Lifestyle. It plays such an important part of our health, our wealth, the wisdom that we apply to it all, and our business.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Linda, as we bring our conversation to a close, is there some piece of wisdom? You've shared so much already. Oh my gosh, thank you. But is there some piece of wisdom that you believe is important to give to our audience at this point in time? Something that could have a more positive impact on them. I mean, you have said so many amazing things. I don't know what else there is, but you got something?
Yes. From my own personal experience, exploring feng shui, most of my friends said, this is a cult, this is bad, don't get into it, all these different things. But there again was something, it was a calling. I needed to find out about it and take the risk to explore things. If it doesn't suit you, then you don't have to continue with it. But if there's something that hits the heartstring, or if there's something that jogs a memory that maybe this lifetime or in a past lifetime that just seems to call to you, trust it, go with it. There are so many surprises out there in this world that very often we don't allow ourselves to take or to enjoy. And I am just so very, very blessed to be able to do what I do and to have the lifestyle that I have. And if I had not gone to that workshop, heard something that cut me to the quick, okay, it did.
Mhm.
And if I didn't follow my gut that I had to find out more about it, I know that I would not be in this beautiful place. I know that I wouldn't have the fantastic relationship that I have with my husband. I wouldn't have the beautiful family that I have with children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren. I wouldn't live where I live. I wouldn't have the friends that I have, and I wouldn't have the health that I have. So it's really trusting that even though other people may be saying something to you not to do it, if something in your heart, your soul says to do it, explore it.
Thank you. Oh, yes, another big wisdom bomb dropped on us. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Well, everyone, I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I have. As we wrap up, I want everyone to know that Linda's information to be able to reach out to her is below this video. Um, and we want you to do that because one of the things that this show is all about is more than just having powerful conversations. It's bringing things that you can take action on. And so take action, reach out, find out if there are things that you can do to help enhance the spaces that you live, move, and work in, especially for your family. We're bringing up our kids in this day and age, and we've had conversations about food. And this is truly a lifestyle conversation that cannot be overlooked. What we do outside, doing outside in nature with our families. I mentioned a little earlier that one of the things that I had to do was I had been growing some plants, rooting some plants, and they'd been beautiful. I'm so grateful to them. It's been years. And today, something just said it's time to plant them. So this weekend, that was the project, and there were several potted plants. But oh my gosh, the feeling throughout the house just shifted. And you can have that too, whether it means going to purchase some plants and some beautiful pots to put them in for inside, getting some outdoor things. It's not too late this summer to plant some things now and to really start moving in this space. Because one of the things that I've noticed too, and you can speak to this for a minute as we're continuing to wrap up, but as people continue to do things that's outside of themselves to support what they're doing for themselves, don't you feel as though things happen so much more quickly? Good things happen so much more quickly.
Definitely. The more that you do things for yourself and start trusting your intuition and taking care of your body, eating the right foods, doing the exercises, it raises your vitality, it raises your chi, and that attracts more. Like energy attracts like energy. When you were talking about the plants, having citrus, because it is green year round, if you can have one in your house, if you can have one outside, that's fantastic. Whether it's a lemon, a lime, orange, mandarin oranges, because they are green year round, they have the wonderful fragrance when their flowers bloom. So you attract good energy that way. With the flowers, it attracts the bees, which brings more vitality, more energy to your space. And then when you have the citrus itself, as you see it growing, usually, very often they are the green or they're gold and the orange, which represents gold, prosperity. And then when you open it, it squirts all over every place. There's so much of it. And so we talk about it, being abundance. There's so much abundance in that fruit that it squirts all over. And then you can share it with people too. So, it's kind of like the perfect plant to have. And like you, I was planting some things. I live in an area that has 18 to 20 lavender farms, and we're having lavender season right now. And the air just smells so wonderful. Even though it's a long walk because I'm walking in the fields, it's just so calming and soothing. And watching the process of how things grow and how you can use all parts of it. There's just such an abundance in that when you connect with nature to see what goes on, how everything gets used. There's a reason for everything in nature. And the more you can connect with it, the more you'll realize that the things that you need and the things that you really don't need in life any longer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that piece of additional wisdom. So, to our audience, this was wonderful. We want to make sure that we do more of this kind of, or have more of this kind of conversations for you. And if you are a health, wisdom, or wealth practitioner and you'd like to share your knowledge and expertise with our audience to be in this conversation, reach out to me, PM me, message me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or email me at vlyn@p3academy.com. Let's connect, because we want people to know this information. I go back to the Dalai Lama calling on the Western woman to help change the world. It is things like this that we are doing that we need to share that will in fact do just that. So, okay, everyone, remember we've got some exciting things for you coming up in future episodes. Join us back here again next week. Turn your notifications on, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please do us all the favor of sharing. Help get this message out. Thank you, Linda. Thank you to Feng Shui. And
thank you, Lynn. It's just I'm so grateful that we met so many years ago and that we've had the opportunity to be together in the past. And it's great to reconnect with you on this. So thank you again for inviting me. And thank you to everyone for watching.
And so, everyone, until next time, remember, be well, live, love, and be a bigger positive impact in your world. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.